Hello, Pedestal wives. I'm going to wait just a moment to let everyone get into the room. And today we're going to be talking about being chosen is a low bar, but be funded. Be funded, be feminine. So let me just make sure that you can hear and see me. Just let me know when you come into the chat if you can hear and see me, and we can move forward the conversation. I'm going to be honest and be vulnerable in this conversation. This is a conversation that I pulled away from. I pulled away from it because I wanted to make sure that I had this conversation from a place of overflow and not fear. I pulled away from this conversation not because I don't believe in provision for women anymore. It is because I strongly do believe in provision that I pulled away from the conversation. When the message started to be reduced to get the bag, and it was dismissing the sacred wisdom of the feminine, became very watered down. I pulled away from the conversation, but now I'm back better than ever and ready to introduce to you why it is so much better to be funded, to be the embodiment of a funded woman. Hey, Hassie. Hey, I'm happy you're here. Thank you. Let me know if you can hear and see me, because I don't want to go be into this and then find out later on that the audio is wrong. Okay. But I pulled away because the entire movement that I wanted to create was always about putting women in position where they can hold and have the capacities for so much more, and they can have all these things without shrinking and losing themselves. That was my initial intention in having these conversations. And so I'm back to this conversation, this type of topic, because I think it's so important that the wisdom of the sacred feminine be revealed, and that we start having a conversation beyond getting the bag or getting the money, and to being fully funded, fully resourced, fully taken care of and provided for, not just by men, but by God and by life. And so I'm going to be talking about, what does it really mean to be funded? What does it mean to be funded? In this conversation, I want to introduce what I call the four currency of provisions. And we're going to talk about what each one of them look like. The first one is emotional funding. All right. Emotional funding is where he sees you, hears you, honors your essence. This provision isn't just about, him holding your emotional body or holding you. It's also about being able to listen without trying to change you or silence you or fix you. I can't even I don't want to forget when I was, being mentored on these things for my own personal mentor. Remember, I told you all the story about me having two mentors. The first mentor, I allowed ego to get in the way, and the second mentor, I was able to soften and take in the everything that she was giving me. And so she introduced me to the four currencies of provisions for the feminine. So the first one is an emotional body, which we just went over, where he sees and honors you. And I'll never forget when I was looking at my husband for more than dating, and I was telling him a story about how one of my mother's friend made a horrible comment about my body, and it sent me into a stage of, exercising, dieting, doing all these things to my body in order to change, because it made me unhappy in my body. And I remember telling him the story. I never expected to get emotional about it. But when I started to boo hoo hoo, and I was like, oh my gosh, I done messed up. I'm going to come off that I'm not self-confident. I'm going to come off like I'm insecure. And I thought, oh, I done messed this up. And he just pulled me into his lap, and he held me and he kissed on me, and he gave me so many affirmations about how beautiful I am and how that man was crazy. That's what I talk about when I mean emotionally funded. When you are resourced at all levels of life, not just through the man, through God, through life, you get someone who is able to see you. And so you sacrifice so much when you start to reduce things to just transactions. And so when that happened to me, I was like, oh my gosh, he is fulfilling and that emotional funding that the masculine must bring to the feminine. And so that's the first thing. That's the first currency, the first dimension of the feminine funding is emotional. The second one is energetic. He protects your peace. He is not the reason you don't have peace. He is not the reason why you stay up late, wondering where he's at or why he is doing something disrespectful to the relationship. He is your peace. He is your safe space. And when he is energetic funding, it's all about him supporting your radiance. It makes sure that your nervous system is regulated, your glow, the funding that doesn't just bring energy, it brings regulation. He notices when you're overstimulated or overwhelmed. And instead of him ignoring you or going around and talking to other people, he comes back to you and asks if there's something that he can do, or do you want to leave soon? He's concerned about you being in that peaceful nature and that grounded and calm nature. And he's not doing something to disturb that. He values that in you. He values that your nervous system is grounded. He values that you're regulated. And he pours into you to keep that state for you and not disturb it. And so energetic funding is the second currency of feminine funding. Number 3 is spiritual funding. He protects and sees your divinity, your soul. He sees the vision and he supports it. I've always told you all this story. It's an old story. I've said it over and over, but I think it's a very good example of spiritual funding, where he told me he saw the gifts that I had. He saw the divinity. He saw the energy. He saw what I was bringing. And he saw such value in it that he encouraged me to go on YouTube. I've never been a social media person. I've always kind of stayed away from social media pretty much. But when YouTube came out, he was the first one to encourage me to start a community because he saw the gifts that I had. He saw the natural gifts that I had to be able to tap into these energies and women and help them to transform. He saw me do this in real time. And he encouraged me. He said, you should have your own YouTube community. And I looked at YouTube and I was like, well, only thing they're doing on YouTube is at the time when I went up there, only thing they were doing was like showing hair. It really wasn't about vlogging. It really wasn't about education either. So I was like, I don't really fit in. I don't know where I would fit in. And he was like, it doesn't matter. You'll fit in because this is your God-given gift. He supported the vision before I even know what the vision was. That is spiritual funding. Him seeing the divinity and the natural gifts that I have, that he really encouraged me. So he came back, he circled back a couple more years after, YouTube had blown up and started to get traction. And he said, are you going to go do it? And then I was like, no, I'm going to do this because I didn't truly believe that social media was real. And I'm just going to be honest about it. So I didn't believe it was real. So I didn't try to create a content or create a community there. I did something else, basically, even though he kept coming back and forth to me about, hey, I mean, you're good at this because you happen to be one of those people who put your mind to anything and you try to make the best of it and be the best at anything you're doing. But you would be better at this because your natural gifts are more aligned to that. He saw the vision before I did. And when a man is putting in that spiritual funding into you, he supports that vision. He doesn't try to tear it down or belittle it or make fun of it. He encourages it. And if there's anything that he can do to invest in it, whether it is money or his time or his energy, he does so. My husband is the one who bought the equipment for me to go live. I never once invested one dime. I could have, okay? I could have invested, but I really wasn't bought in the way that he was bought in. And trust me, he is just giggling with happiness when he realized that he was right, that I would fall into this type of content and this type of community very easily because it's just something that comes natural to me. But that is the spiritual funding. Now, let's talk about that financial funding. Okay, financial funding definitely has been reduced to transactions. But financial funding is not just about transaction, it's about being resourced. It's about a man contributing to your wholeness. It's about if you are currently working on a project or you're at work, he notices these things. And instead of him trying to, he may ask or may not. He may just take initiative and just send you something. Maybe you say you didn't eat and he sends you some food. Like it's more about him being focused on your wholeness and making sure that if there's anything that he can do, it's not just money. Of course, if there's an investment to be made, then he's going to put his money where his mouth is. Okay. If there is something to be paid, he's going to take care of it. But when you are financially funded from the currency of provision, then he's going to make sure that your wholeness is intact. This means maybe you're working late and he sends you a plate of food, or maybe he sees that you need a new person to work on your website. He's going to go ahead and hire somebody and get that done for you. Or maybe he sees that you need some more investment money in order to get the thing off the ground, and then he's going to invest in it. And he's going to be always available to it. And he's always going to be along the lines of saying, is there anything else I can do? Is there anything else that I can do to help you make this thing come alive? Is there anything that I can do to support you on your journey? And when you have all four of these currencies of provision into you, you become a different woman. A woman who's embodied, the embodiment of a funded woman, she looks differently. She walks differently. She talks differently. Is when you start to really learn that that receiving is not just about a transaction. Receiving is spiritual. Receiving is learning to create daily devotion into receiving the things that you want. And I want to go deeper into that because when I've only met personally, I've only met probably a good, and this is because I think only reason I have only met probably about 5 women that are the embodiment of a funded woman is because of the fact that I've lived in small towns majority of the time. I did not live in a city long, and that might be why I haven't met them, because I do believe that they exist. Because I am one, so I do believe that they exist. But the embodiment of a funded woman is knowing that she is fully taken care of and provided for through God, man, and life. If I was to sum it up and tell you exactly what it looks like, it would be a funded woman is partnered with the divine, honored by the masculine, and rooted in her power. That is if I was to sum up exactly where I'm going with this and what a funded woman is, that is what a funded woman is. Thank you, Hessie. I didn't want to miss your note there. Thank you. I appreciate you. I'm glad that everything can be heard. But a woman who is funded, she is regulated, resource, and in her reverence, in body, spirit, energy, and finances. She's not triggered by the how or the what if. She knows that's the how. She knows that within her gut, knows she has a knowing of that these things are meant for her and these things will happen for her. I think that one of the things, and I can be honest and be vulnerable and be like, I know I played into some of the conversation that was happening and made these things somewhat transactional. I can take responsibility for that, because when I met my second mentor, she never put it into, or he taught me in the way of how. She never emphasized how with me. She emphasized embodiment practices, rituals, and spiritual and energetic disciplines. And I'm going to make sure that even in this video, I'm going to leave you some of those energetic and spiritual disciplines that she gave me. Because when you start to really pull that in to you, you'll let go of all that how and what if. You'll let go of trying to say the right thing. You'll let go of perfection. or trying to make sure that you get it right, because you won't need it. Everything will come up and flow from your throat to speak the right space, speak the things that's going to be effective and hit that man in his heart so that he can hear and see you as the funded, embodied woman that you want to become, that you are currently becoming. But let me tell you about my mentor, because I think this will all make sense a little bit more. My mentor, when I met her, I was really young. Okay. Not only was I really young, I was coming off of heartbreak. And so I had a pessimistic view of the world. And when I met her, everything had already flopped with my first mentor. So I really didn't have high hopes for my second mentor to a certain degree. One of the things I can say is that I always chose women who were ahead of me. So my mentor is no longer here. My mentor was very, I guess she's my age now. She was already in her 40s, and I was, in my early 20s. And so when I met my mentor, she already had everything. And one of the things that really, brought me into her space is that I watched her. I watched how she would walk into a room and people would offer. I watched where men and women alike would want to be around her and surround her. I watched her magnetism. I watch her hypnotize people. I watch her do all these great and wonderful things without truly saying too much. People offered to pay for her groceries. People offered to open up the doors. Men offered to do things for her. And she didn't ask them for those things. And she didn't try to manipulate those things out of him. She didn't try to use her body or seduce them out of them also. And just imagine me being a young woman being like blown away by her. And I honestly, she wasn't even really interested in taking mentorship. It's just that I have a way of trying to be in the right place at the right time so I could, befriend her, because I knew that was the best way to get close so that she could mentor me. Because whatever she had, I wanted some of. And I knew that whatever she had was going to be monumental. It's going to be important to my being. And so when I started befriending her and started being basically wherever she was, I was there. And thank God for small towns that make that possible. Because now I think if you stayed in the city and you did that, you'd probably be arrested for stalking. But I was able to get away with it because it's a small town. If I'm going for coffee, there's only one coffee shop. If I'm going to shop, there's only one place to go shopping. If I'm going to the grocery store, there's only one grocery store. So there was only one of anything. So it doesn't look like stalking when you're going there, where you're trying to befriend someone to get mentorship. And I like following her around and, having conversation with her. I realized that it wasn't about what you say. And I think that's where we get caught up in these conversations when it comes to techniques and things to be able to get out of men. We get lost in trying to figure out what to say and saying the right thing and wearing the right clothing and wearing the right makeup and wearing the right perfume, and not realizing that when you are the embodiment of a funded woman, you only have to be. I think that becomes very hard for women to digest, because they have been on social media, and social media tells you if you don't look this way. And I'm going to tell you, by the way, she was not like model attractive, if that makes sense. She wasn't model attractive. She wasn't even conventionally attractive. Like, what you noticed about her was her energy. And people noticed the energy around her, and they offered. When walking beside her, she got attention and being noticed, and she wasn't doing anything to do so. Y'all have to realize this was back in a time. I grew up in the country. There was a lot of people weren't wearing makeup and worrying about hair or perfume. They weren't worried about any of that. They weren't boggled down by all of this stuff to become more like women like are today. And so she's walking around and just her a nice shirt and jeans, and just her energy going before her, and people were offering. Men offered to fix her car. Men delivered her flowers. Men gave her gifts. And she wasn't trying to figure out how to say the right thing, what to say right. She didn't have to deal with all of this. And she didn't teach me that way either. And so when I came on social media, and I'm like, this is the right thing, because when it comes down to a man being a provider or offering provisions, this is a spiritual thing. It's not a transactional thing. And so when the conversation starts to devolve into transactions, it led to women who showed up with more fear in their throat and survival in their gut. And so what comes from that is conversations about what ifs, what conversations about how. The conversation leads away from the spiritual aspect of these things or the energetic aspect of these things, and it leads to more of what can I do to be more so he can accept me. And then the wrong questions start to be asked. The wrong questions started to be asked. And so I'm going to start here and see what everybody's seeing in the conversation. Okay. I think you might have came in a little bit late. I've already told what a funded woman is, but a funded woman is a woman who is resourced from all levels of life. She's resourced spiritually, energetically, financially, and emotionally. She is resourced through God, through life, and through husband, or through the masculine. The best way to describe a funded woman is a partner to the divine and honored by the masculine and rooted in her power. What do you mean by energy? Are we the energy that everyone puts out? Every one of us puts out a energy field around us as we go about our lives. And I noticed when I was shadowing her as her mentee that the energy around her tend to bring people who were offering. So she didn't have to go about trying to manipulate or say the right thing to get something from someone. People offered to show up for her. They offered to fix things for her. They offered to buy things for her. But it's because of the fact that a lot of the things that she trained or mentored me in was not about the how and the what if, or trying to say the right thing or becoming perfect. She didn't even try to attempt to tell me I need to change my look. She told me I need to change my energy. She told me I need to change my perspective. She told me I need to change my reality. She did not tell me I need to change my look. She didn't tell me I need to add a little bit more makeup, a little bit more foundation, and a little less clothes or wear heels. I was already doing these things because that was part of how I presented, but it wasn't what she presented. She was able to get all of these offerings from the people around her, and she didn't have to be or do the things that I thought was needed. And I'm not saying that this is a call that you don't have to don't wear makeup. If it's something that is deep within you, it's something that you desire, your desires are sacred. Your desires, the things that are coming up within you are sacred. So it's to me, I desire having makeup. I desire wearing dresses. I desire having heels on, or, flat sometimes, but I desire those things. So that's a part of my makeup, but it wasn't a part of hers. And that did not stop her from being able to bring in the offerings that people brought to her willingly and easily without any manipulation or any type of sacrifice, or to her. She didn't have to shrink herself to become. She didn't have to shrink herself in order to receive those things, because receiving is spiritual. So hopefully I answered, what do you mean by energy? So how does this apply to today's day and age? It still applies. Today's age, we have to absolutely, I think today's age, we have to absolutely, because when I never, ever thought more along the lines of the what and the how until I started doing social media. I was able to mentor women and they get those very results. I had women that had never gotten energy or attention from men that were calling and texting me saying, hey, Braille, tell me how to turn this off. And it was not based on the how, why. It wasn't based off of a script. It's based off of embodiment practices, rituals, and energetic and spiritual disciplines. Before we leave here today, I'm going to give you at least one spiritual discipline and one energetic discipline that she gave me that still applies to today. because the law is the law. Spiritual